Announcements. Pete's got another one. Pete's got another one. He's got them all the time. Pete!
Bryan, it's Tuesday! Episode number 32. Good morning, Internet!
Try it one more time.
Good morning, Internet!
All right.
All right, well, welcome to Kids Site 2, the Webpage.
Bryan.
Pete, and today is Tech Trek Tuesday. And I was just looking for my sheet, my agenda.
Oh, it's right.
And I
there.
seem to have.
They're lost.
I don't.
Somewhere.
Oh, it's scattered about, and now.
What are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do without an agenda?
Maybe we can just wing it.
I think we're just gonna.
Let's wing it.
All right.
All right.
Anyway, well, welcome to our site. Today we're going to talk about a little technology at the end of the show.
And Pete, what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about? We're talking about open source. And I know that sounds like it's crazy. And
Open
whatever,
source.
but
That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Don't worry. It's cool.
Sweet.
And beyond that, we're going to... actually, I think I have some really great news. And I don't think that. I know we have some really great news.
Okay.
The really great news is that we located Barry Buttons.
We did. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
And
Last
right now,
night,
yeah.
he called us on he called us on a cell phone. It was like his friends, and it turned out like he was in Western Massachusetts. And then
on a motorboat.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird. It was
then
going upstream. I don't even know how it
got
happened.
on a jet ski.
But he's back.
He's back.
He's in town.
And he's back in the race. And actually, I think right now we can cut right to him.
Yeah, let's
and see where he is.
This is live
action.
action.
All right, live action right now with Barry Buttons.
Go.
Hello, Pete and Bryan. It seems I've made it to Grand Central Station. And just on time, as always. I'll catch you later. Mwah.
Wow, he has really made some progress.
He really has.
Race.
And now I guess he's the leader right now.
Apparently he's leading. I don't know where the other two are, but he is the first to have reached Grand Central Station.
And that's part of this grand race that Larry's sponsorship is holding.
The Grand Manhattan
Go back
New York
a couple
race.
episodes.
If you don't know what we're talking about, go back to Thursday and then go all the way through and you'll see what we're talking about.
And I found
we
the
found
agenda.
the agenda, so now we are all settled in and we know what we're talking about.
Now, our next bit, the bit that we're supposed to do today, is Strange Facts.
Ooh, I love strange facts.
Yeah.
Can I tell mine first?
Yeah, tell yours first.
All right, my strange fact would be, now, you know what an astronaut is, right?
Yeah.
An astronaut is someone who goes into outer space.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that when they're in outer space,
Yeah.
if, something happens where maybe like their
They
goldfish...
stub their toe or...
Yeah, I was going to say, their goldfish passed away.
Yeah, okay.
And they try to cry, they can't do it like you and I do. And the reason they can't do it is because they have no gravity.
So, it's just
a tear can't go down their cheek like it normally would. It would just like bubble up at their eye and then eventually either drop off or just stay right there.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that pretty crazy?
I never thought of that, but it makes sense.
But there's no gravity, so that makes sense. And what is your strange fact?
My strange fact is that this is also an astronaut themed fact, which is that spaceships are actually based off of the size of a horse. Okay, now why is that? Well, a long time ago, there would be horses that would be our main transportation, and they had carriages behind them. And as the horses would go, they would have the carriages would have to have their wheels in these grooves in the pavement because they would wear down over time, right?
Okay.
And so they had to have all the standard size between these two wheels. They had to be standardized.
They were standardized.
And the reason that they were standardized is because if it was just a little bit off, then the wheel would fall off. And that would be no good.
Yeah, okay.
So that was based on how big a horse was. Now, how does that bring us to spaceships?
Yeah.
Well, the same people who made that standardization and made the axles and so forth for those wagons.
Very in depth.
Those people also made railroads. Okay.
All right.
And so they used the same the same specifications for railroad cars.
Okay.
And sure enough, fast forward, we're still using the same specifications for railroad distance between the two rails.
That's crazy.
And
that's what, 200 years of technology?
Or even longer. Even longer. I mean, that's a long time.
How long have trains been around?
Oh, well, as long, I don't know. Maybe 200 years. That sounds good.
1799?
So, when you manufacture a spaceship,
okay,
it's a really huge thing.
Clearly.
And you need to get the parts from a lot of different places.
You can't just order it from Target. Hey, I'd like to get one spaceship.
Yeah, and you can't put the spaceship, like the pieces, on the highway. That's not a good way of transporting them.
No.
So you got to transport them over the rail. Well, guess what? On the rail...
It has to be that wide, or else you're not going to be able to fit through tunnels.
Through tunnels, exactly. And so they had to base the size
of the spaceship. Are you using your noggin and thinking about that?
Yeah, they had to base the size of the spaceship on the width of the rails, which they had to base on the width of a horse.
Wow, that is a very interesting fact.
That is.
Well, because that was such a long explanation, I think we should cut right to our song.
Yeah, let's cut right to our song.
Great.
That sounds great. This song is called The Beaver Song.
The Beaver Song?
Beaver 1, Beaver all, let's all do the Beaver call. Beaver 2, Beaver 3, let's all climb the beaver tree. Beaver 4, Beaver 5, let's all do the beaver jive. Beaver 6, Beaver 7, let's all go to beaver heaven. Beaver 8, Beaver 9, stop, it's beaver time.
That is the Beaver Song.
That's the Beaver Song.
Great song.
And now let's go right to Tech Trek Tuesday. Why, hello, and welcome to Tech Trek Tuesday here on KidSite 2, the webpage. I'm Pete.
And I am Bryan.
And today I will be telling Bryan about open source software.
Open source.
Exactly. And now normally the way that we do Tech Trek is I talk a long time and then we end up breaking it up with the characters.
I take a little nap, you know,
yeah.
It's good.
And the characters are all on the race. They're all out on the race right now.
Maybe.
So they're not going to break it up. So maybe I'm going to have to actually, be brief and make sense this time.
Yeah, like actually go through and talk constructively.
Well, I normally do that. Just I go on tangents.
That's true. Well, so like we are right now. So
exactly.
Let's start with our open source. Clearly, it says Linux down here, so that means
that's just an example.
Something.
We're not going to get into that immediately. But let's just say, what does open source mean? And we can figure that out.
Should I ask that question right now? Pete, what does open source mean?
Well, every bit of software it has something called a source. Now, the source is the program, is the actual language behind it. So, for instance, let's take a simple program like a paint program. Okay. So this program is something that you open up on your computer, and you can draw circles, and you can draw, pictures with
whatever you
so
like.
Forth. Okay. Now, if that has a source, the source is the code that made it appear the way it does and makes it function the way it does.
So when who makes that source, though?
So a programmer makes the source.
Okay.
Okay. They make the code, and they put all that code into the computer, and then the code makes this paint program.
Cool.
Well, most programs are closed, which means that, for instance, if you have a paint program on Windows, you can't go into the code and change it, like add your own tools. Maybe I want to have a triangle tool also. Well, I can't add that because it's closed source. Now, that's just most things are closed source. You have a Nintendo Wii, and you play Wii Sports. If you wanted to, say, change the game a little bit, add a couple new functions, maybe make it so for tennis you can just keep playing.
You wouldn't be able to do it because
you wouldn't be able to do it because it's closed source, meaning that you cannot change that code. It's against the law to change the code, but it's also ethically, it's like changing someone's book.
Yeah.
Now that's like the best.
Taking the last chapter out of a book and writing your
own chapter. That's exactly.
Because you're like, hey, I didn't like that ending.
Yeah.
Lulu shouldn't have gone on that boat trip. She should have gone in the airplane instead. So I'm going to change her name to actually Lala instead of Lulu.
Yeah. So you're going against the reason that someone did it. Now, if you went, and that's it. I mean, that's basically, if we want to say open source, open means that you're able to change those things. Closed source means that you're not able to. So if you go out and you buy your Harry Potter book, and you take out, or you add a couple chapters of your own, that would mean that you are using it in an open source type way.
Cool.
Now, that's against the law, though.
Yeah.
So, but there are a lot of software programs that are open source.
So now give me a few examples of some open source and some closed source. Maybe I'll try and give you. So all right, let me give you one example.
Well, I have one right here actually. Linux. Now you guys might not know what Linux is, but when you
I know what it is.
Okay, tell me.
It's an operating system.
Absolutely.
You know why I know that? Because we learned about it a couple Tech Trek Tuesdays ago.
We did. So when you turn on a computer, you have Windows generally, Windows XP, or if you turn on a Mac, you get the OS X operating system.
Okay.
But then some people choose to use an open source operating system. Now, OS X and Windows XP or Windows Vista, those are closed source. You cannot change them. But Linux is open source. Now, there's another small difference, which is that generally open source projects, because anyone can alter them, generally they're free. And generally they're made by lots and lots of people.
Not just one person, but a lot of people working on it together, collectively trying to make it
teamwork.
But now you need to have Windows or Mac to get Linux, right? Because don't you have to go online to get it?
That is true in a lot of cases, but actually you can buy a computer that has Linux pre-installed on it from like Asus has some of those, Asus Tech, and also Dell is even selling some Linux
that's
computers right now. So
that's open source.
That's open source.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna become a programmer so then I can make everything closed source. So then people know it's my work and you can't take it.
Yeah, but maybe here. So the philosophical reason of using open source is because, well,
you want to
maybe
share.
I want to change. Maybe I want to add those extra tools. Maybe I want to add those extra tools so everyone can enjoy them. And then maybe we can make it so this is the best paint program ever. Because if you're adding tools and I'm adding tools and you're adding tools and everyone adds tools and we all share them, then we all end up with this really great tool that has all these things on it.
Would a lot of things also be closed source? Because then some people who may not be the most skilled people working in them can press one little button and that can mess up the entire thing, right?
Well, in theory that can happen, but then also things are closed source because you want to make money. You know, it's like I want to sell this and I don't want people to alter my program. But that's all we have to say about open source today.
That was great.
Tech Trek Tuesday, and I am Pete.
And I'm Bryan.
For KidSite 2, the Webpage. We'll see you tomorrow on Wacky Wednesday.
That's right.
And
have a great Tuesday.
Have a great Tuesday.
See ya.